All right, everybody. This will be warning to all politicians. I'm running for president 2024, part 71, 71 or 72, I think. Let me get rid of the music there. So anyway, this one will be UFOs. Everyone always says, to presidents. I don't know if Trump's been asked. I think he's been asked if he believes in extraterrestrial life, and I think he said, sure, it's a possibility or something. But as far as UFOs, I think he said no. But anyhow, if I'm elected, God help us all. I say that in a joking manner, but I think I got, as far as taxes and rebuilding the country, getting rid of all the crap programs we have, and start, like I said, make living a good life, and a productive life really appealing to people, and making a life of crime and drugs and all the other crap look really unappealing, and start putting our focuses on the future, better relations with nations around the world. We have to understand we can't keep on going like this. I think we're at a threshold where the world is going to start to come together and start to see, hey, we got to move forward. We can still keep all our own boundaries and have laws and rules, to protect our populations from being overrun and jobs being taken away. But we have to focus on some of these undeveloped countries and things like that. Because as far as racism and everything, that's every culture, every color. It's not a white man's disease. If you look at what's taking place in South Africa and other places in Africa and around the world, that's something that you're not going to solve that overnight. You can't force some types of change and stuff. You got to take baby steps in a lot of things. But I think it's important to keep moving that way, to where as human beings on one planet, we start to look outward and look how we can better everything in this world if we put our attentions towards it. And but going down the path what the left and the anarchists want is totally insane. Having drag queen pedophiles teaching children in school, and they want to, genderless, colorless, like I said, like the Greys type of future for us all, and definitely don't want to go down that route. I believe inequality between men and women, working the same job, whatever you should get paid. I don't think women are any less intelligent than men, but I also believe you can have equality without, women, bulking up, with muscles, taking, testosterone or whatever else they're doing, and having to be a butch looking woman. I mean, I think one of the greatest blessings God has given us is, there's nothing like the affection between, man and woman, or husband and wife. That closeness, that bond, and a woman being able to be soft and to be feminine and stuff, and highlight that part of herself as well as her intelligence and everything else. So, some of the ideas people have of what equality means, and economic justice and all these types of things, of bringing everybody to like one level is not going to work. Because you can't take people who really strive and do well and are innovative and this and that, and create jobs and opportunities on the same pay grade as a bunch of stoners who do nothing, and want to collect a check. But anyhow, back to UFOs. So I would disclose as much as would be possible. I believe there are a lot of things the military and the CIA and stuff keep even secret from politicians, But looking at that, though, UFOs, it's occurred to me now, I don't know if within the Baha'i faith, any of the writings they have touch on the subject of life elsewhere. And I know, like, what's his name, Zachariah Sitchin and other people, was it Zachariah Sitchin, who translated the, oh hell, another brain fart here, forgetting the people, but they said, like, we were kind of like Neanderthals, and then they came down and gave us some DNA and stuff, made us smarter to have us dig gold because their atmosphere was being depleted, and the only thing that would help it was gold something. And but I don't know if there's any alternative, if any other scholars have translated things and come up with alternative meanings. I mean, I'm not that deep a study on things like that and exactly what this guy said. But in other cultures in Africa, was it the Dongal tribe, something like that, they paint their faces white and stuff, and they say white men came down from the sky. Within Hindus culture, they talk about flying cities and this and that and everything, and I've seen some stuff myself. I don't know if I relate it in one of these earlier ones, but when I was a kid in Jersey, and I'd say, how the hell old was I? I don't know, I'm guessing somewhere around 12, somewhere in there, maybe 13, so it would have been like 76, 77, and so anyway, was watching TV in my mother's room because she had the cable. She was, I forget if she was out, I think she was at bingo, either that or she was working late or something. So, and I heard some, it wasn't real late out, but it was late enough to where everybody should have been home. My age, or even a few years older than me, it was like 10 at night or whatever. So I heard some voices of people walking down the street, and I looked out the front, out the window, and could see, and I had a bicycle stolen, so it was just, kind of more on guard about who was around and stuff. So anyway, I couldn't make out who it was, so I went out on the front step, and it was winter time, and so there I am on my bare feet on the cold step, and just as I got out there, one of the kids turned around, pointed in the sky, said, "What the hell is that?" And I'm pretty sure there was 3 of them, and they took off. It might have been 4. They took off running down the street, and I looked up in the direction that he pointed, and there was a craft. It wasn't like a saucer or anything like that, probably as big as a small boat or like a jetliner. I say boat, I should say ship. Didn't have wings or anything. Could see lights on, like in the windows, and had all these antennas on them, and a lot of the antennas had like a red or amber light on the very points of them and stuff. and it was sailing quietly, just like a boat. You'd see a sailboat on the water. It just sailed by over my house and the neighbor's house next door. It wasn't too high in the sky, and I could even see shadows of people moving inside the lit windows. And it just quietly went by, and I ran in the house and ran to the back of the house to my godfather's room, he was sleeping, and was looking out in the back. And it was a cloudy night where the ceiling of the clouds was down pretty low. Now when it passed over my house and my neighbor's house, it was definitely down below the clouds because I could see it. And then when I went to the back of the house, I guess it gone in the clouds because I could only see lights flashing within the clouds. And my godfather woke up wanting to know what I was doing in his room, and I told him what I'd just seen. He started laughing. He was like, "Oh, you're dreaming." And it bugged me out, and I brought the dogs in the house and had every light on in the house. When my mother came home, she's like, what the hell's going on? I told her. So she said, "Oh, you were dreaming." Or my godfather got up and he was like, "Oh, he was dreaming." And I was like, "No, I'm not." So she kept telling me that for whenever I brought it up for the rest of her life. You were dreaming. But anyway, so that's just one of the things I've seen. And I saw some stuff out in Nevada, out towards Area 51 ways. One night coming down the highway, coming down 93. You can go through this town called, is it Caliente or Caliente Springs or something like that? And then you climb up this great big hill. And I remember going up the hill and thinking, man, I didn't have that much weight on. I just wanted to get down to Vegas. And I knew once I got over the other side of this hill and hit the other highway, it was just like a long straightaway down there to Vegas. No more hills to climb and stuff. And so I was coming out of that town and going up the hill, and the truck was running hot for some reason and like really sluggish. I should have been going up that hill faster. And I remember getting kind of agitated, having an agitated feeling, whether that had to do with just I was tired and, thinking the truck wasn't running right or whatever, or if it was some kind of, I don't know, thing they employed on me or something to make me feel that way. I don't know. But anyhow, saw this radio tower up on the top of the hill. Thought it was a radio tower anyway. I was like, oh, there's the top. Every time I come around a curve where I thought I'd be making the top of that hill, it seemed like that tower was further away. It's just like 5 red lights. It was nighttime, 5 red lights going up, like you'd see on a tower, straight up a tower. And then finally I come around this one curve and it was like, bam, there it was. I mean, it was less than 100 yards away. And I thought, oh man, I made the top. And just then it shot straight up in the air. No noise, couldn't see no engine propulsion, no nothing. Couldn't see an outline of a craft, just 5 lights, stayed perfectly distanced from each other, just like they were if you were looking at a tower and it had 5 or 6 red lights going up it. They never got closer or further from each other, so it was like they were on a stick or something and just went straight up in the air. Then it turned horizontal and flew out across the valley, then did cartwheels across the valley, then came back towards me in level flight, 5, 6 red lights facing at me the whole time. And then it kind of stopped, and then it zoomed down towards Vegas way. And then a few seconds right after that, whether it circled around me and it was the same one or it was another one came and zoomed and followed it. And I was thinking, oh my God, what the hell was that? And so I started, going down the hill, and then like a white light came on in the sky, and I was like, what the hell is that? Because at first it looked, when a plane turns towards you and it has, it's coming in for a landing, and all of a sudden it's just like this light comes on. That's what it was at first, and then then it bloomed. I mean, and it got big as like a full moon in my windshield. I mean, just, and the whole valley glowed, you know, soft, like white light. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And it's 2-lane there, you know, so I was watching. It was almost hypnotic. I had to keep forcing myself to look back down at the road because I'm trying to figure out what the hell this is. And just then, 2 orange orbs shot up from the ground, or goldish, orangish color. I guess you could say they're more golden. And they flew parallel to each other. And they kind of squiggled up. They didn't go straight up. But they were parallel, and like both did like a little squiggly thing up. And then they both stopped underneath this white light and hung there for a second or two. And then they both shot into the white light. And then the white light blinked out, disappeared, and all that was left was a blue streak across the sky when you turn your television off. Now, I have no idea what it was. I just know it wasn't airplanes. And then I got down to the next little town. Oh hell, I'd have to look at the map. But there's a little place there to pull off. It's not like a truck stop, but it's a wide spot on the side of the road, and a lot of trucks parked there. And you can go in and get coffee and stuff. And there's a little trailer parked nearby. And so I went in. This is like, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning. And there wasn't anybody behind the counter, so I went in, threw some water on my face in the restroom and stuff, and grabbed a Mountain Dew, came back out, still was nobody there. And so I was standing at the counter to pay for my Mountain Dew, and the door behind the counter there opened up, and this guy, I swear he was like Lurch from Addams Family, just huge, comes out, and I'm like, oh shit, it's the invasion of the body snatchers, man. What the hell, this is a strange night. And so he's ringing up my Mountain Dew, and I say, hey man, how many times do people come down that highway and tell you they seen something in the sky up there? He says, oh, just about every night. I said, really? He says, yeah. So this was like 2000, I'll say between 2001 and 2003. I'm pretty sure might have been dead on in the middle there in 2002. But so anyway, I was like, oh yeah, and he's like, yeah, the military's flying a lot of stuff around up there. I said, I don't know what the hell I saw up there. I said, but well, I know it wasn't no damn airplanes. And he says, oh yeah, they fly all kinds of stuff. So no, these weren't no airplanes. So I left, went out to my truck, and called my wife at the time. I was telling her about it, and I looked in the rearview mirror on the right side, and Lurch and this guy in an all orange jumpsuit was standing out in the parking lot. And the guy in the orange jumpsuit was pointing at my truck. So I'm telling you, this was a strange night. So I was like, screw this, I'm out of here. And I went down to Vegas and went to bed. I got up in the morning. I don't know, it felt like I'd been kicked in the head, something, or out on a, 2-day drunk or something. I don't know. Just felt really out of sorts, and like I didn't get enough sleep, and was groggy, and just feeling actually, I don't drink, and I didn't drink then, feeling actually kind of like I'd been drinking. And so I called, and everything I saw seemed kind of like a dream. So I called my wife at the time, and I said, hey, did I call you last night and tell you about this stuff I saw? And she was like, yeah, you woke me up, you jerk, because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, when I called her. So I know I saw it. I knew it after I got up and woke up for a while. It was like, yeah, I know I saw that. It's like I know I saw what I saw when I was a kid. So there's definitely stuff out there. But here's the thing I wanted to bring up. All right, I don't know if the Baha'i teachings, if anything, the Bab or Baha'u'llah has written, or if Abdul Baha or Shoghi Effendi commented on whether or not there's life on other planets, and if they were going to contact us or anything like. I don't know. I'm eager to find out. I'm eager to read all the writings I can. by the messenger of God. So the only, like, and I don't know all what Hindus teach, if there's anything in Krishna, if he said anything about life elsewhere, anything, but doesn't it seem odd that in mainstream Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, there's no mention? Like the prophets, Moses was questioned about lots of things. Jesus was definitely questioned about lots of things. And so we know there's other dimensions, because we know there's a life after this. And we know there's angels and things like that. And if you go to like Native American, they talk about the spirit world. Aborigines talk about the spirit world and everything. So this is all another dimension. This is just life after this realm, the spirit world. But don't you think it's odd? And there's a verse in the Quran that says, much have they hidden and little have they revealed. Now that could cover a wide range of a lot of things. But don't you think people have always looked at the stars and stuff, and you had, apparently the Egyptian culture was well known and all that, and they had their myths and, all the myths of the world and everything. So, it's not like the Hebrews and the Israelites that were living in an isolated world. We tend to, in Christianity, look at that as like, you forget that the Viking myths and all the Egyptian myths and all these other cultures and stuff existed at the time. You don't even, maybe they acknowledge, like, the Egyptian, because of the Exodus and stuff. But really, other than technology and being able to get around and transportation and stuff, people were still people. And, there were still, math geniuses and things like that. People knew how to add and stuff, and, maybe it hadn't gone that far, to what we have now. But, people always had questions. Now, don't it seem odd to you that nowhere in the Bible, or at least that I'm not aware of, or especially within the Gospels, that there's no thing like, and so asked Jesus, Jesus, is there another earth? Are there other people like us? And the same with the Quran. You would have thought somebody would have asked the Prophet Muhammad, what's up there? What's out that way? Because all we know is the heavens. Now, in the Gospel of Barnabas, Jesus talks about the size of the heavens, and like traditionally everyone says, well, there's 7 heavens, but I believe in the Gospel of Barnabas, he said about 8 of them or something. So there's differences within Scripture, and things change over time. Everything decays from its purest form. Things get mistranslated, this and that. Anyhow, he described each heaven, being bigger than the next, and then God being bigger than all of them and stuff and everything. So the only thing I ever read that you could say is from, and I say mainstream, I don't mean as a slight to Hindus or Buddhists. I don't know if Buddha ever talked about life elsewhere. I'm talking, the Abrahamic faith, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. The only thing I ever read was from, and I was told it was an unreliable site later, so that I later discounted it, was that a boy asked Imam Ali, they were looking at the stars, and he asked him, what are those, and are there people elsewhere? And supposedly, according to the Hadith, Imam Ali pointed to a group of stars which we know as Orion, and said there were worlds around those stars just like this world, and there were people who lived in villages who were just like us. So now whether villages meant the same level of intelligence and scientific development, or he just didn't want to try and communicate that they were more advanced and lived in big cities or whatever. But so that's the hadith that he said around in the Orion constellation there were worlds just like this one, and it had people just like us, not alien and predator stuff like, but people just like us. So if they're more advanced, they could already be here walking among us and we wouldn't know it. We keep seeing these little gray things and tails of this and that and everything, and I think that would be the biggest or the smartest way to cover up that they exist and they're just like us, is to put all this stuff out there, movies and all this kind of stuff, saying that describing aliens as being super weighed. I mean, that'd be the perfect camouflage cover story, whatever. What would the words be? Hey, we'll go down there and we'll be among them, and we'll just, the whole idea of us even existing, we'll just make them think it's some kind of, creature, this and that and everything, cover our tracks, the type of deal. Think about that, wouldn't it? If aliens were just like us, human beings, and these ships we see flying around and stuff are being piloted by people just like us, but they don't want us to know they're just like us. They get involved in Hollywood and all this, we'll put out all these movies so people think, aliens are these creatures and stuff, and don't get wise that we're here. See what I'm saying? Wouldn't that be like the perfect cover? We wouldn't be wise to them being among us. We wouldn't be paying too much attention to what our politicians, and that's where they'd be. They'd work their way into power and stuff. We wouldn't be paying too much attention. People talk about, they're the reptilians and this and that. They ain't got to be reptilians. They could be just like us. And maybe not. Maybe they're evolved more technologically and all this, but maybe they're not so evolved they're not thinking about how to do us all in and take over the planet for themselves. You understand? We divide ourselves by nations. What if they're looking at us? Hey, even though we're just like them, they're looking at all these resources and the wealth and everything. You see what I'm saying? They're thinking, yeah, they're just like us, but who cares? We're going to take all their shit. That's what we do with each other here. Why would beings just like us from another world be any different? You see what I'm saying there? So I always thought it was odd from scriptures, they're not being, because that's one of the questions of all time. What happens when we die, and what else is out there? So I've always found that odd that in mainstream Christianity, Judaism, and Islamic teachings, nobody bothered to ask the prophets, hey, what's out there? Are there other people? Somebody had to have. Somewhere, somebody had to have, and somewhere it was written down, and probably there's still something. The Vatican's supposed to have a hell of a library. And we'll get more in the Vatican because they got a hell of a bank too. And I want to know why when we give charity to some of these countries, it goes through the Catholic Charities thing. And how much of that, I wonder, is the Vatican Bank, which is supposed to be the richest bank in the world, skimming off the top. So, but we see a lot of things that happen, conspiracies, and you got to start to wonder, if there's people just like us from another world here, and they're out to do us in and turn us against each other and take over the planet for the resources and stuff for themselves, just like we do nation to nation, right? Would a lot of these things, like you see references to 9/11 and stuff in the movies, because you got to think all these people would be linked together. And like we say, we got conspiracy things, the Illuminati, the reptilians and all this and everything. What if it's just other human beings from another world, just like us, who are like, screw these Earth people. We're going to take their shit. We're going to take that planet over. See what I'm saying? Might sound far-fetched, but it's a possibility, and that's the reason why all these quirky coincidences that end up being conspiracies are out there, is because they're involved in Hollywood and politics and all the other stuff. All right, so I went over that UFOs. There was some other stuff I wanted to go into, but I'll leave it at that for now. Wish you all the best out there. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Adios.